few moments, China has announced that they are, in return, going to bring in Chinese tariffs on US goods at the rate of 84%, and that will come into effect from April the 10th. That has come in just the last few moments. It's come from the Chinese Finance Ministry. They've told the World Trade Organization that the US's decision to impose reciprocal tariffs on Beijing threatens to further destabilize global trade. They say the situation is dangerously escalated as one of the affected members, China, expresses grave concerns and firm opposition to this reckless move, but they have, in return, announced they are then therefore going to increase their tariffs on America. Let's talk to our business presenter, Darren McCaffrey. So,
like, holy cow, did this get out of control really, really fast? I went over and I actually looked at the history of the tariff war between the U.S. and China, and it is 10 times crazier than I thought. And it goes all the way back to like Trump's first presidency when we started throwing tariffs at each other, and it just continues on to this day. But the EU actually thinks that this is going to be okay for him. Kevin O'Leary, actually, believe it or not, I don't know if you guys have any respect for him whatsoever, but Kevin O'Leary actually says that this might be a good thing for us. And we'll go over a little bit of that here in a second. I'm going to give let this roll for another minute or two until everybody gets in here. Then we're going to jump over. We're going to talk about the Middle East because the U.S. does have new stuff that it's been rolling in. Gaza is getting partitioned out, it looks like right now. Like it's literally being cut in half again. And Indonesia says it's going to end up start taking in Palestinians. So all of that's going to be really freaking great. And oh, by the way, there's another, like, there's just some crazy stuff going over there. So get ready for a show, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going after it.
I would say a tit-for-tat trade war, but, 84% versus 124%. It's not tit and it's not tat, is it?
No, but it is a proper full-blown trade war, and it is a sign that China is not prepared to cede any ground on all of this. I mean, ultimately, they have taken quite a bullish decision on this. They have suggested that they are willing to take the United States on when it comes to this trade war, and this is a further sign of what we are seeing here with those extra tariffs of 84% on US goods. All I would say is it is what people have warned about, is that when you start a trade war, when both sides decide to take an entrenched position, trying to roll back from that becomes incredibly difficult, Jane. And that is what we're seeing here with China, who, unlike other countries, it must be said, most notably Britain, and to a lesser degree.
So it's funny, everybody's got like their own opinions on how everything's doing. I did go over just out of sheer curiosity in case any of you guys care. Now it is like the opening of the stock market, but if you take a look at it, like the Dow Jones is up today along with like the S&P 500. I don't know if any of you guys even like care about that stuff, but I know it's like really big in the news, and so everybody's really worried about it. But it doesn't look like it's doing too bad. And Kevin O'Leary actually came out last night, and he's got some freaking
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration
400% tariffs. What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. I'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold
That's true. If I was in business, I'd be more like Mr. Wonderful over there, where he's just like, no, just squeeze their heads, crush their souls. That seems like the thing to do. Well, I mean, I don't think he's wrong in saying that. Like, you got to kind of like put China in check. I went over and I did like a whole breakdown of the history between the U.S. tariffs versus like Chinese tariffs starting in like 2018. So if you guys are interested in that, I have it all over here. But it looks like it started all the way back in 2018, where we ended up doing a 25% one on steel, then another 10% one on aluminum. And oh God, Matt, what's up, buddy? How are you this morning? Let's see here. The U.S. has stolen plenty of ideas from other countries. The nuclear bomb, as an example. Space programs. Hello. Yeah, we do. We did. We actually didn't steal the nuclear program. We stole the scientists that developed the nuclear program. And I think that's a good thing, as a matter of fact, because we're sitting on top of the world. And now that we're up on top of the world, we probably shouldn't be giving that up. If you guys think the eggs were really high priced last year, wait until inflation full on freaking blows and kicks in when BRICS ends up taking over. If you guys didn't know, we were trading really high on the economy for not on the economy, on like the global stage for a really long period of time, is like some of the top contenders in the market all around the globe. China came in and started taking over a bunch of those different locations. It's just one of those freaking wild things. But yeah, it goes all the way back and forth. And you can see where it's just like a tit for tat. Like, we just keep going back and forth with them all the way over 2019, 2020. And then when Biden comes into office, in 2021, not a lot of freaking things ended up changing. But Biden did increase tariffs in 2024 to the tune of $18 billion, and nobody seems to have given a crap. And that was on electric vehicles to 100%, semiconductors up to 25%. So just throwing that out there, that Biden admin ended up doing that in May of 24. Other than that, nothing like really significant coming out of China. I feel like nobody's really buying any Chinese electric vehicles. Maybe I'm wrong over there. They're really not in the EV market. Matt says also, the dude's a billionaire. It's not going to affect him like it will affect us. He's out of touch with the middle class. Yeah, that is true. A lot of these people are. February, we ended up doing the 10 to 15% on select goods, or I'm sorry, China on us, right? So we ended up coming out saying, look, 10% on all Chinese imports. They said, all right, 10 to 15% on select U.S. goods, liquid natural gas and coal. March, they ended up raising it to 20 on everything because of that. And then in April, we added on 34%. And now we're at like a total of 104%. And China just announced like moments ago that they are throwing on that additional 34. So it's getting freaking wild out there. EU actually says this might be a good thing for them, believe it or not. And at the same time, the EU is saying that this might be a good thing for them. Guess what the EU did today?
Overnight, and now we're getting a retaliation from the European Union. Just in the past couple of moments, the European Union approving tariffs on about $23 billion worth of American goods in retaliation for President Trump's tariffs on the EU. Some of these tariffs, there's an extensive product list here, which I won't go through, but some of these tariffs do appear to be sort of politically targeted to hit certain agricultural products and other things in the United States that would hit particularly red states or the states closest to American political figures. So no comment from the White House. I just spoke to some folks in the West Wing. No comment from the
And notice the same thing coming out of the EU that came out of Canada when we first started this crap with Canada, where Canada was like, look, yeah, we're going to tax like this different whiskey and all this other crap. And they targeted what red states. And now it looks like the EU is doing the same thing over here in the great old US of A. So, yeah, God only knows where this is going to go and if it's going to let off. But EU's doing their own thing. Everybody's doing their own thing. I could really care less. Let's get something a little bit more fun, like this P-8 Poseidon that ended up getting spotted off the coast of Lebanon. For you guys who don't know what those things are over there doing, they're out there hunting for freaking subs. What sub? I don't know. It is possible that Russia has a nuke like hanging out over there somewhere, and I'm sure they have different freaking capabilities, but that ended up getting freaking spotted off the coast. Also, we ended up having a lot of KC-135 and KC-46 refueling tankers that ended up flying into the Middle East. All right. Over the last 24 hours, here's a big list of all of them going in and out and rotating around over there. And you can see that they are on track. This one like ended up heading down over to here. This is not Baghdad. This is this is flying over Iraq. It looks like it could be heading to Qatar or something like that. I know we do have a lot of our refueling tankers that are like staged down in Qatar. But we also, like I said, have all of those different air bases arrayed across the Middle East. So there's just tons of stuff that's going to be out there. Snow says, Matt, what do you think of the military planes being in Panama? I mean, I'm not really that concerned with it. to be honest. We have a bunch of military down there, and I believe Pete Hegseth, the SecDef, is actually down there right now on a conference, if I remember right. Or he's doing something. He went over and he was at the Panama Canal yesterday, basically screaming that China is not going to be allowed to take over the Panama Canal. We didn't forget who built the dang thing, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I would assume that's what they're all down there for. Would be Pete. Our SecDef is down in Panama right now. I can show you pictures and stuff of him if you want down in there, in case you don't believe me. But he is in fact down there. What's also kind of starting to tick me off is all of this liberal crap. Remember how I ended up talking about like Macron whining and complaining about everything else? Yeah. Yep. So you'll notice that in this next video, here we go. Brandon Cook coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Up over there on the left side of your screen, you're going to see Macron. The gentleman over behind him, I believe, is the Egyptian president. And what they're doing is they're listening to this like Palestinian woman whine and complain about going home.
الإصابة هو كسر في العمود الفقري في الفقرة الظهرية الثانية عشر. سبب الإصابة.
And what she's doing is saying like, hey, once I get better, I really wish I'd be able to come home and take care of my kids. And I want to return to like the promised land and live over inside Gaza in like that big like shithole. And Macron's just over there eating it all up. Nova Estrella says, really? Nova, of all people, says her YouTube unsubbed her randomly. Yeah, I noticed our subs were dropping really, really fast, and I don't know why. And it looks like Nova said YouTube unsubbed her, and I know she's been around for a hot minute, and I've often wondered whether or not like there has been like a random attack or something like that on us, but we'll see what ends up happening. Here is the UN. So now we've got you know, the freaking French president, and we've got the Egyptian president, and we've got all of these people that are over there whining and complaining that the U.S. or that, you know, Gaza's whatever. And then you go add on this crap. This statement came out from the UN Secretary General Gutierrez yesterday.
The world may be running out of words to describe the situation in Gaza, but we will never run away from the truth. The current path is a dead end, totally intolerable in the eyes of international law and history. And the risk of the occupied West Bank transforming into another Gaza makes it even worse. It is time to end the dehumanization, to protect civilians, release the hostages, ensuring life-saving aid, and renew the ceasefire.
Yeah, I'm sorry, UN, that is like the world's worst idea. I ended up putting up a question up over there. It's kind of like a short poll asking if anybody has been unsubbed from the channel. There's actually like 30% of you so far that are coming in saying that you've been unsubbed, which is freaking wild. Update on your press pass. That's a good question. You know who? I know exactly who I need to shoot that message over to here in just a second and see whether or not that press pass has been approved or not. All right. We do have a special shout out that we have to freaking throw in there. And this is going to, let me make sure I get this gentleman's name right. His name is Matt Agostino. I probably screwed it up, man. Matt Agostino. This knucklehead ended up graduating from U.S. Army Infantry Basic Training today. So congrats to him. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but the dude just graduated. And look at him. He's all happy over there. Other interesting note about this particular gentleman sitting there all happy in the back with his little girlfriend kissing all over his ear. Yeah. Is he actually did some fighting over inside of Ukraine as well. And now he's over here joining the United States Army, doing those different things. So now he's a U.S. service member, which is, I think, pretty freaking cool. So congrats to you, brother. Congrats. Way to congratulate. Yeah, pretty happy for you. Now, Indonesia, in their most genius sense, decided it'd be a good idea to bring in Palestinians. Can't make this shit up either. So Indonesia is finally stepped up and said, hey, we're going to take in Palestinians. And the way it reads all over like the different articles and everything else when you go out is that it is a great thing, this impact. It's going to have a huge impact on the war. I dug through the weeds on this. They're only taking in 1,000 right now. I'll say that again. Out of the 2.1 million alleged Palestinians that are over there, well, maybe it's 2 million roughly. I don't know. We'll call it 2 million people that are currently living in Gaza. Indonesia is taking on 1,000. All right. And when you look at this and you like read through it and you see the different headlines, 1,000 too many, good luck. Right. I don't know how well it's going to turn out for them. Like I said, I know you're going to have a bunch of Hamas fighters that are like defecting and all of that other crap. And so when Indonesia taking these people in, to me, number one, this is silly. Like, congratulations, you took in 1,000. And maybe it's like the same as like the story of the little girl running up the beach, chucking in a bunch of starfish, you know, throwing them back into the ocean, trying to save their lives and being like, to that one starfish, it absolutely matters. That's great. But at the end of the day, 1,000 really isn't that big. Now, they did say it's going to be their first wave, but they didn't announce how big their second wave is going to be or any other wave beside that. They just didn't. I want to show you guys something. This is probably one of the largest blasts that I've seen in a while. So I'm just going to give you guys a really quick earballs warning before I end up freaking putting this out there. Now, the crazy part is, before I put that up on the screen, 25% of you that have been in here or are currently in here said that you have been randomly unsubbed. Take a look at that freaking poll. So make sure that you guys are subscribed. Make sure your notifications are turned on if you guys are watching this. That's absolutely insane that that's actually happened. Freaking insane. If they're going through and unsubbing people, that really kind of pisses me off. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure your notification bell is turned on and all of that other good stuff. Now, this detonation taking place over inside Gaza. I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you an earballs warning. I'll even turn it down ever so slightly, okay? But check this sucker out. They said that is the detonation of a terror tunnel shaft over inside of Rafah, which, if I remember right, IDF already cleared through there. So the fact that they're still detonating all these freaking tunnel systems and stuff, yeah, and you look at like what's actually blown up over inside of there, and you see like all the sparks and shit flying. That's not like your standard det. Like, there's something else that was mixed in there. It is possible that they ended up finding a bunch of Hamas weapons and putting them inside of that freaking tunnel when they ended up blasting it, because that way, if they're going to have like all of these freaking, you know, explosives and shit that they need to take care of, might as well shove them inside the tunnel as well and get rid of them at the same time. So maybe they found a bunch of rockets or something like that and ended up throwing them inside the tunnel system. Worst case scenario, it ends up having sparks and crap like that fly out the way it is. That's what I would think. Yeah, I see Josh Earnhardt saying, hey, it's thermite. Right, but that is a buttload of it if that's the case. I don't know what was inside of that, like for that detonation, but that is a huge fireball, and that has a lot of other crap going inside of it. Could have also been like, what do you call it? They could have found like some Willie Pete rounds or something and shoved them all in there. Like, God only knows what they were using in order to dismantle them. New freaking footage coming out from the Givati Brigade operating over inside of Rafah, coming at you right up on the screen right now. Not a lot of combat footage, not a lot of like videos, helmet cam videos, cell phone videos, things like that we're seeing coming out of Gaza. Pretty much everything that we see as far as the IDF's concerned. It's not like the earlier days on in the war where we had a lot of information and we were able to update almost like block by block of where these guys are at. And that to me is like a pretty good thing, because what that tells me is that the IDF, number one, is being very freaking controlled and methodical about the different types of information that gets out there. Oh, here we go. So they're being very controlled and methodical about the information that's getting put out. You know, before I was able to update you guys like almost neighborhood by neighborhood for where these guys and gals were like operating in over there. And right now it's just simply not the case. I'm getting like little glimpses and pieces of where they're at and what they're doing, but nothing substantial enough to be able to like sit there, throw it on the map and say, right here in this area, this is where they're at. This is what they're doing. This is what they're fighting. And to me, unsubs won't work on us YouTube. We know when it's roll call. Damn right. To me, even having that, right, like having that little bit of operational security and what they're doing is a very good thing. I feel like a lot of that stuff ended up getting squeezed and put out, and we ended up having like probably more casualties than needed to be, just from having to announce like where they were going and what they were doing every step along the way. It allowed, seriously, it allowed for some how do I want to say this? It allowed for some pretty freaking wild stuff to happen. We ended up seeing houseborne IEDs and all sorts of other stuff. We ended up seeing like Hamas kind of like change over the course of the freaking battle. And right now that's just not the case. And I think that's a good thing. Haven't heard of a lot of like major medevac flights or anything like that coming out of Gaza. I have heard of a lot of people whining and complaining about food shortages that were going on over inside of Gaza, because for 30 days, remember how we talked about this yesterday, over in the Sinai Peninsula, you had a bunch of people build up, and then the freaking, you know, the King of Jordan and the Egyptian president, of course, Macron's over there, like playing to his freaking user base. But all of those people are whining about the food shortage. So ends up that I actually have video of some Palestinian journalists buying food over inside of Gaza. Well, deal with it, man. Inflation's hitting everywhere else in the world. It's going to hit Gaza. So frickin' deal with it. Like, it's not our job to make sure that inflation. Oh, really? No data is being pushed through. Thanks, streaming software. Greatly appreciate it. All right. So hopefully, is the stream back up? You guys, are you guys able to see me? Let's hope the stream gets back up. Chris, hope they had Katy Perry playing when that firework dropped. Yeah, I hope so too. Hopefully you guys get me back up and running. It looks like I'm doing okay on my end, but I want to make sure that nothing's going on. Gone. Bad connection right when you showed that. Great. But I know what the issue is here. I'm back up and running. Come on, baby. Let's go. I don't want to lose you guys. I don't want to lose you, man. It looks like we're good. And I got a feeling I'm probably still live up over on X. So literally ended up losing half you guys. Holy fucking cowballs. Wow, baby. Thanks, YouTube. All right. Well, good. We're back up and running. You guys. But we'll go ahead and get this back up and running here. In a hot second.